I was brought up by two wonderful parents who take a very straight view on life. Right is right and wrong is wrong. They just brought us up to treat people the way you would want to be treated yourself, and also the telling of lies is just wrong. And I think my parents, where they see an injustice at whatever level, they're not afraid to speak up. Eventually, I think, to be honest, at home, I don't know, my mother, she just sat me down, and I'm 41 years of age, and she said, you look me in the eyes and you tell me, are you the blog author, are you not the blog author? And I just said, I am.
It was towards the end of 2009 I obtained the resignation letter of former Central Council member Jenny Babulia. She's a barrister, and she had written a letter to the then Minister for Defence Willie O'Dea outlining her reasons for resigning, and she kind of made some fairly strong allegations, financial irregularities, mismanagement of the organisation, governance issues. Once that story appeared in the paper, I immediately started being contacted by people within the Red Cross saying, this is only the tip of the iceberg, there's far more to this, so keep digging and you'll find stuff. And my experience with organisations like this in the past is that they use and abuse that kind of, I suppose, established respectability to hide what's really going on. What I also found was that there was a small number of people at the core really controlling the organisation who've been there for an awful long time and seem to really be running the show as their own little empire. Well, hang on, this is an organisation that gets about £1 million in taxpayers' money every year. The Minister appoints the chairman and various members to the board. So, it merited further digging. Literally, it was bit by bit, more and more incredible kind of revelations just kept coming out. And it just became clear very quickly that it was a cesspit.
I was delighted to start with the Irish Red Cross back in October 2005. I had spent the previous 5 years in East and the Horn of Africa. You'd start any new job full of optimism and very positive, and you don't necessarily anticipate encountering huge problems. It was an exciting time in the Irish Red Cross because the international department was really just being created. I was the first appointed head of international department, so most of your time is spent dealing with the normal day-to-day affairs of running an international department, growing it, and that was what drove us, and that was what motivated us. And we were, for good periods of time, we were able to do that. But you realise the longer you stay with the Irish Red Cross that there's a certain culture in the Irish Red Cross, and it's not automatically obvious as to how things work, where the power bases lie, who's in charge, how the organisation is run, how you're perceived, etc. I'd felt from an early days I'd stepped on toes very quickly, because I had questioned some practices, particularly in relation to Pakistan and the purchase in 2005 and the purchase of blankets. As an example, would cost us I think €26,000 just to transport the blankets from Dublin to Islamabad, and we didn't have to do that. We were instructed to do that because of arrangements that were put in place by certain board members, and I felt that was a misuse of donor money. Public could have bought good quality blankets designed for the Himalayan mountains in Pakistan, thereby supporting local economy in Pakistan. And also the blankets were €3 per blanket in Pakistan and €12 per blanket in Ireland. I would have expressed concern. My concerns were known then at board level, and it was indicated to me that this wasn't a very good necessarily start to your career in the Irish Red Cross by questioning people about such matters. People give us money without knowing us. They don't know who we are. I don't know who they are. But they believe in their heart, without asking us any questions, that if they give us money to spend in Haiti or China or Zimbabwe or whatever, that we will do exactly that. And generally people don't come back and ask us, did we? They just assume we will. And they do that because we are a charity, because we're the Irish Red Cross, because people look at the emblem of the Red Cross and see neutrality, they see hope, they see trust, they see integrity.
Someone in HQ has said, listen, there's rumours going around that there's money in accounts all over the country. But in one account, single account, there was 162,000. What made it even more fascinating was that it was in the branch of the long-standing Vice Chairman Tony Lawler. Not saying that he was specifically implicated in any wrongdoing, and that's when the story of the Irish Red Cross just went massive.
At what point in time do I become complicit in all of this? And this began to concern me greatly, because up to that, if someone accused me of being complicit, I would have said, well, I've done everything I could. I mean, I'm on record, I have emails and letters, and people are bored listening to me at this stage in the Irish Red Cross.
You've got somebody who's been reporting consistently right through the line of management, right through to the board of directors or the trustees, and then found that they've had to go outside the organisation to raise public awareness of the problems inside the organisation. It shouldn't get to that stage. But unfortunately, for most whistleblowers, they're faced with a dilemma. And that dilemma is to choose between their own interests and the public interest. And in very many cases, whistleblowers choose the common good over their own good.
And at the bottom of these blogs, there's a little logo. It says, create your own blog. You click on the button and then you put in the title. So it was either the Wardick family blog or something to do with the Irish Red Cross. And I told nobody. There was not one single person in the world was told the blog author was me. In many of the articles, for those who read the blog, they'll see that I've chosen quotes and placed them. I believe they can send a very powerful message and are usually written by people who are far better writers than I am.
Information was being sent in to me by post anonymously. The key element of it is that anonymous detail. So you kind of knew that whoever was sending it at that stage was doing it from a position of knowing exactly what was going on, and was ultimately, I think, trying to do something about it.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's awful lying like that to friends. Like, my parents would have said in passing, because they were, oh, I hope you're not writing that blog now. I hope you're not involved in that, because you'd be in trouble in the organisation. And I had said, oh, no, I'm not, and let it go. And inside you're dying, like you're cringing, and you're going, oh my God, I'm just going to believe I'm lying to my parents here. And from then on, I suppose the next difficulty was, I denied it. I denied it for one reason only. I didn't want to lose my job. I knew I would lose my job immediately if it happened, because the Irish Red Cross do not tolerate, in my view, the telling of the truth. And I would phrase it as committing the truth. In the Irish Red Cross, you commit the truth because you feel like you've committed a crime. And in the Irish Red Cross, you never get away with committing the truth. You commit the truth, you get punished. Some of the biggest scary moments was when I thought I was going to get caught, or I'd done something on the computer that would send up a flare that it's me, I'm here. And writing articles and posting articles, I was always terrified these could be traced. I didn't know how. I was sure the Irish Red Cross would be attempting to find out. At the time, there was an all-pervasive atmosphere of pure fear within the organisation, to the extent that one staff member, when discussing issues outside of the normal day-to-day work, refused to speak. He would only write them on a yellow post-it, give it to me, and insist I write my answer back on it, because he firmly believed the offices were booked. Now, whether they were or not, I have no idea.
For 20 years, the Irish Red Cross has been devilled with serious governance problems, industrial relations and financial irregularities. The common denominator during all this time has been the same 2 or 3 people. The people and the taxpayers of this country want their Red Cross to act in a caring and professional manner. This is not happening at the moment.
The Minister has no function in the day-to-day administration of the Irish Red Cross Society and does not involve himself in the day-to-day running of its affairs.
The Irish Red Cross, in their wisdom, decided to sue Google International for the identity of the blog author. And they decided to sue UPC, which is the IP company On my way to work on Wednesday morning, I checked my BlackBerry and there was an email there with a letter from the Secretary General which basically said UPC has complied with the court order. It has released the details of the computer from which the email was sent. This computer is identified as owned by Noel Wardick. We therefore have reason to believe that you're intimately connected with the blog, and as such you're hereby immediately suspended. Do not come to the office. And I was on the Dart, so I promptly got off the Dart, Prayer Street, and got back on the Dart going the other direction. Went home and haven't set foot inside the doors of the Irish Red Cross since 5th of August 2010. It's now the right time to come clean and admit I was the blog author and begin to explain why I had taken that avenue. And I informed the Irish Red Cross at my disciplinary hearing in August that I was the blog author, and I think soon thereafter I revealed it to the public, I suppose. No longer will I fear, no longer will I deny who I am. Noel Wardick.
Mr. Wardick was fired for gross misconduct in November 2010 under the charge of breaking his confidentiality agreement. It would have been easier, account order, for Mr. Wardick to remain silent.
If you're fired, and inevitably in Ireland whistleblowers get fired, it's you who's fired. It's you who has to spend hours talking to your solicitor. It's you who spends many more hours worrying about the costs of talking to your solicitor for hours, and you know you're ratcheting up legal bills left, right and centre, and you're unemployed and you're going, how am I going to pay for this? It's you who goes as an individual on a Wednesday morning up to the dole office to collect your dole. It's you who goes into Parnell Street to sign on every 3 months. It's you who gets the call from Foss saying, are you really looking for a job? It is a very lonely and solitary experience.
I continue to look for jobs. I will always continue to look for jobs until I'm gainfully employed again. But it's just, I do it with a heavy heart to a certain degree, knowing that this is something I have to face. And I have to be very honest with them, because all I have to do is Google my name and everything about the case and everything about what's happened is there. Guaranteed look of shock and bewilderment and dismay on their faces. Everyone trying to be polite, everyone thanking me for coming in, and it's all thanks and we'll be in touch. And I just know that's just guaranteed to happen. I've been brought up in the tradition of the GAA with Gaelic football and hurling, and I find that a hugely important outlet. I still play in the Division 9, so one can only imagine the high quality standard that is. It's all about hurling and our matches and our training, etc., etc. So there's no discussion around the Irish Red Cross. That's really important for me.
Well, Noel, in my view, is, I don't use the word lightly, but he's a hero. I mean, he put his career on the line because he believed that things were wrong in where he worked. I don't know him personally. I've only dealt with him on a couple of times in relation to this story, but this guy is now out of work for doing one thing, for sticking up for the organisation that he worked for. He put his neck on the line, and has been abandoned by not only the organisation that he worked for, the Irish Red Cross, but by the Irish government, who really failed to stand by him. You have Alan Shatter, the new Minister for Justice, walking around here as the champion of whistleblowers, when you've got a great case of a whistleblower being cast out.
It's not a matter for my department to be involved in the day-to-day running of the society.
I think it was October of last year, the Department of Defence came in to explain certain items under its expenditure, and its money to the Red Cross was one. This wasn't something I was familiar with, although it had been in the media. And as we were questioning the Secretary General at the time, I wasn't happy with the answers I was hearing. And so I suggested to the Chairman at the time that we invite in the Red Cross so we can ask the questions to them directly and give them the opportunity to clear up any misconceptions that might be there, if they were in fact misconceptions.
It was an indictment on the society.
What we have is the Vice Chairman of the national organisation being aware of an account in his own branch and not disclosing that account officially at all in 2005, 2006 or 2007, and it not being recorded anywhere that account existed.
That's fair.
And is that person still the Vice Chairman of the organisation?
He is, yeah. A substantial amount of money has been spent compelling Google to reveal the identity of the blogger at the time. Upwards of €140,000 in legal fees was spent trying to get the identity of the blogger. Is that correct?
This is 2010. Yes, this is 2010. The legal fees of that year were close to that 136,000, something close to 140,000.
To really try and catch a whistleblower.
I have a good idea, I think, of what's gone on. Others do as well. But without any hard evidence or witnesses willing to come forward and verify certain information, there's only so far we can go.
I have seen now firsthand the impact of fear. It's just shocking. It paralyzes people. It paralyzes whole groups of people. And it paralyzes whole organizations. You could say it's selfish. Once I'm comfortable that I did as much as I could, I can live with that. It won't eat away at me. It may bother me now that I'm unemployed and financially very worried, but I can deal with that. I'm happy that, I've honoured the upbringing that my parents gave me and the morals that my parents gave me, and I've honoured the name of our family, and that's very important for me. So I said what I said and did what I did, and believe it's for others to make a judgment out of whether that was right or wrong.
I think that the Irish Red Cross is at a tipping point, and there's no guarantee yet which way the scales will tip. Some of the most dedicated people I've ever worked with are in the Irish Red Cross. The blog started on the 29th of December 2009. So here we are in May 2012. So it's been a huge part of my life for the last 2.5 years. So to write the last concluding article is a big moment. Everything I wanted to say and needed to say about the Irish Red Cross has been said. So I think it'll be simple, and it'll be with a sense of relief and also pride that I conclude the blog.